Hello peeps, Hillbilly Halfwit. How are you today? I thought I'd do you a little bit of a thing showing you how I'm getting on with the Landrover. And I'll turn you around and show you. Well, here we are, the back chassis is all done and painted. It needs a few more paint coats on here yet. You need another 2 or 3 coats on here. But as you can see, everything is looking pretty good. I've gone over everything and welded it all again. The ones I thought looked a little bit weird. So it's been double welded and grinded out to make sure it's strong enough. Got this Hammerite, very thick paint on here. So that back end is done now. Good, that's took a lot of work. We put the outriggers on, look, on each side. So I had the back on here to make sure they were in the right place and the right height. So we've still got to weld one of these on each one of these things yet, but I'm going to wait till I put the back on and weld them on in place. So we've only painted it, hold on, as far as there's a hell of a mess here at the moment, I'm afraid. That is a bit that's come off the door, look. So we started on here now. So this is the bulkhead, and these are the new bits to go on here, look. So if you can see there now. I tell you what I'm having trouble with though is getting these bolts out. I cannot get these bolts out. So I've had to cut the bottom bit off, section off here. This one come out, okay. You can see there. Everything was just rusted. So couldn't get them bolts out. I put heat on them and everything. So I've ordered some new bolts and we'll have to cut them off. What I'm thinking of doing here now is, if you can see where this bit goes, like that, I'm thinking of cutting that top bit off. If you can see my finger. And leaving that hinge on there and just welding it across here. So leaving that hinge on. It looks like it's been done like that before to me. There's a good bit of rot around in these things, but like I said, them new bits I ordered. We've got a set of them for both sides, so they just bolt straight through into the chassis. And for those of you that don't know, these bolts here are what adjusts the bulkhead forwards and backwards to get the doors so they're the right size, if you see what I mean. So you get the doors to work with a gap on the back of the door there. So if your bulkhead is in the wrong position and your door doesn't close properly with a big gap, these need tightening up. Now there's a bit of welding obviously to do here. This is very fiddly stuff, but all the chassis welding has all been done. There's a little bit to do there, sorry, on the end, but everything else, all the chassis welding, has been done, look. Boy, I have got a mess here at the moment. Sorry about this. I really need this out of here, but there we are. See, there's another bit there. A little bit awkward to get to that, so with the MIG, but I did do it. It didn't look very pretty there. Remember, it's all been plated across the top there as well, and underneath here, and under here. So this chassis should be really strong now. See what I mean? Look, there's plate going all the way across the top there. All the way really now. From here back is all new steel. And I plated across the top of everything. And underneath. So this is what the door, before I cut the side off, the other side will look like. Look, it's all rotten. So I've got other pieces to go on there again. Let me just go around here again. So still a lot of work welding here. Fiddly work, but then that's a new piece to go on, so so that'll have to all be cut out again and do like I showed you over there with them new bits, and then this bit then sat in there like that, and then that bit there goes in the floor here. But the weird thing is that all this here is steel as well. Why didn't they do that in alloy? I can't understand. If they'd have done that in alloy, we wouldn't have any rot at all in bulkheads. So it's a bit weird, isn't it? So there we are, that's how I'm getting on. The actual chassis and everything is rock solid now. All in line and everything. So there we are. I thought I'd show you a little bit of how the Landrover's getting on. I haven't had a huge amount of time in it because, to be honest, quite honestly, the last few Saturdays I went out on the beer, didn't I? So, well, the rugby was on. So there we are, that's all over and done with now. I do like my international rugby, but I went out a few more times than I normally do. That's my old mate Lumper's fault, that. So that's the one for today, on this anyway. So you can see the Landrover is getting on now. So if we can get this bulkhead here, look, so if we can get this sort of sorted here now, and the footwells, we'll be getting on a bit then, because the next bit will be the engine, really. Try and get the engine going. Or put the axles on, because it'd be nice to get the axles on. So there we are. If you could comment, rate and subscribe down here, it doesn't cost you anything and it helps me out. All the best, Gaz.